Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to be talking about the Valiant event quest, the new format of it. So I have finished exploring the Gauntlet as well as the Valiant EQ, and Kabam is trying something else this time around. And obviously the reception, I would want to say it's mixed, but it's overwhelmingly not mixed. The vast majority of the people that I have been discussing with during my live streams, not the biggest fans of the new format. So the first things that have changed, that we're going to immediately notice, is even in the first maps, every single boss you have to fight 3 times. And I think I have a reasonable kind of middle ground compromise type of situation here. Because fighting random Psycho Man and whatever have you as bosses 3 times doesn't feel particularly great. Like, I didn't have my player experience enhanced by a lot, nor I think it added a meaningful amount of difficulty to the quest, to be honest. It was just kind of annoying. But I do think there is something good that comes out of them forcing us to do the boss fight 3 times, and that is more so in the final 2 chapters, final 2 quests. Because, you know, getting to fight the new champions that are freshly released multiple times over is actually kind of good. It's useful to you. You might not love it, but at the very least, that is the type of thing that makes you a better player. And so it's like my kind of suggestion here would be that these, 3 times the boss fight type of nodes would, in my opinion, be best served if Kabam reserved that exclusively to the newly released champions or newly buffed champions, or something like that. Because then it has a useful base where players get used to the animations of the new champions and they learn how to counter them and which champions do better and which champions do worse. And also, ideally, you'd want to kind of move that fight forward to the first fight in the quest. So you don't have to do 2 random fights to get to the first boss and then see how well or poorly you do against the guy. So if Kabam actually wanted to kind of help players get better at the game, I think this would be a good combination of what they're trying to do and, what would benefit the players the most. Keep the 3 times boss fights on the final 2 quests and move them forward for the first boss, where you get to do that fight immediately entering the quest, so you can actually use it as a legitimate practice for the fights. I mean, ideally the boss wouldn't have many nodes on him either, but I guess you can't ask for everything. But I just think that would be a fairly cool idea, and then within the first month, everybody has an easy opportunity to actually get in a solid practice as many times as you need, test out the matchups and what have you. So if Kabam move this forward and only did it for the last 4 fights, that'd be awesome. Second thing that we definitely have to talk though is the double paths. And also the length, because these double paths now are massively longer than the initial ones. And we have 3 fights, 6 fights, 9 fights, 12 fights, 13 fights, 14 fights here. That's quite a lot. And on a personal note, the final 3 quests did feel like a slog. And it's 14 fights here. So the one thing that I don't quite understand is why, with the double paths, which I don't think is a great idea, they also, because the first fight's here now, is 3 fights, another 3 fights, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if you want to do the double paths, why the additional 3 fights per path there in the later quests? Just a genuine question. So I do think the double paths make each quest too long and too sluggish. That is another thing that I definitely heard from the people, because number one, this quest is fairly repetitive as it is. Having the feeling that you have done it and you have to do it again to explore the quest, it just kind of multiplies the issues. Because realistically, all the fights, aside from the bosses, which again is a change of pace, which some will love, I don't think most people love. But these cases, the nodes hardly change. The fights are fairly straightforward. But fine. Now when we did the initial 3 quests, they were shorter, as we wanted before, and I believe that was the feedback that we had given to Kabam about Valiant EQ, that we would like the quests to be slightly shorter. And so the first 3 quests felt like, oh, this is quite alright. Yeah, you have to fight the bosses 3 times, which, again, whatever. You know, it's not the biggest issue, but then it, for most part, kind of felt nice. I'm liking this. I'm liking this change. Until I got to the quests number 4, 5, and 6, where effectively the length of these quests kind of tripled. Because if in the first quest I have like 11 fights, then in this one I have nearly 30. And in all of the other ones I have nearly 30. So all of a sudden, quest 1, 2, and 3 are fairly short, and then the third one, there's nearly the triple amount of fights. And that again kind of like threw that, okay, I'm liking it so far too. This is tedious as hell. I'm not having fun. And when they do the double parts, that immediately brings us the idea of this isn't a gauntlet, it's just a regular EQ. It's just like slightly nipped, event quest. There's like, as soon as I started doing this, I realized that there's very, very little difference now from the Thronebreaker EQ to this Valiant Gauntlet in terms of like the content structure. Therefore, again, I propose one of the two things. Either get rid of the double path ID altogether, which I think is a better one, or nip the parts again. There's no reason for these parts to be 14 fights. I believe there are 14 fights. We can recount. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 fights. There's no reason for these to be 14 and for the first 3 quests to be 11. And at the very least, bare minimum, if you are insistent of keeping up the double parts in these quests, cut them back down to 11, just like the first quests. Or maybe 10, or maybe 9, ideally. Because, if you're going to have to do multiple parts, which again, not a great idea, at least make them the same length, or slightly shorter than the ones in the previous quest. And that was also one of my bigger issues with exploring this quest altogether. It felt... What's the best feeling? It felt like I'm crushing and rushing through it. It felt like I'm making good speed. And then it felt like I hit the wall and all of a sudden it became a massive slog. And parts of that could be just my interpretation of it. The way you feel because of the quest format or whatnot. But the first 3 quests, kind of got into the rhythm of things, got used to the idea of then, the third fight is the boss, and then there's going to be like a separate choice node where I need to bring in more counters to the boss, and then the final one. And I kind of got used to that. And then all of a sudden, you kind of feel like you are hit with somewhat of a sledgehammer, where not only the lanes get longer, not only there are double paths, there's going to be like the new champions, and there we go. It kind of felt like the first 3 quests didn't, amount for anything, and then the real content only starts with quest 4, which surely cannot be an intentional design. Now, overall, again, I don't think it's awful. I don't think it's awful that Kabam is changing things. I think it's a good thing. I think it's good that they are, experimenting with stuff. I do not think this is a winning formula now. I do not think doing random boss fights multiple times makes this much more fun. Again, I do appreciate it for the newer champions because it has a purpose. And I don't think doing the double path of something that's meant to be like Gauntlet type of quest is great, because it just, becomes a regular quest rather than Gauntlet quest. Do not think it's good to have such a whiplash of breezing through the first quest and then like a massive kind of like expanse in the time needed to complete the content. The ideas, I think, the boss fight, again, especially for the last 2, I agree with that. Double paths, not so much. The length being increased so much, definitely a big no. So that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think. And I will catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all